Hey everyone, morning. Just going to give you a little quick video here. It's easier than to try and type it all. Webb, you asked the other day how I fasten my legs, how I glue them in. What I do is I take a dab of glue gun, just hot melt glue. I get my legs to a length that are going to be tall enough to bypass everything, and I will find a position where I want them. And I take a dab of glue gun glue and I glue it underneath, and I glue wherever it's making contact, if it is making contact up here. If not, it's just a dab of glue down here. It's just so my hands get freed up so I can actually, I glue all my legs on, all four of them, or three, or whatever I'm doing on that one. And then what I do is I pre-drill through the fiberglass, not through the wood, and I use coarse threaded drywall screws. These are about probably an inch and a half, inch long or so. And I will set them so they sit in pretty much flush inside. I don't necessarily countersink them or so. It depends on the spot they're going. This is a flange, so if the rubber lifts, it doesn't really make a difference. If they stuck out a quarter inch, it wouldn't make a difference. On the inside, I will make sure they're going into a low spot. And I will take some fiberglass resin and quickly just put a brush over top. I'm just afraid the drywall screws, from the moisture of the cement and the condensation that happens, will rust, and I don't want that touching my my latex, so that's why I just put the stuff over top of it. Once in a while I'll snap a screw off and I have to pull it back out or so. What I found is the rubber's thick enough that the screws just push into the rubber and you don't see any change of whatsoever of the shape of anything outside. If it's not making contact with the wood like this spot here is, I put a little tiny scrap wood, glue gunned it in or so, and bridged it. Now once that's done or so, it's just fiberglassing aid. I'll take some resin or so, without any mat, just the resin or so, and I'll brush it into these spots. Just let it pour into these little, pour into those little corners. I'm trying to point while holding on to things here. Let's see if I can do this. I'll pour some with a brush. Drool it in there if you want, and let it run down. Same thing around the bottom so it gets underneath or so, wherever the glue gun glue is. Don't put too much glue gun glue, because you want the resin is what's going to give you your strength. The glue gun is just there to convenience for you. And then up in spots like this afterwards, I'll do the same thing. I'll drool it in, and then once that's done or so, I'll take some fiberglass mat and I'll put it in a little container with some resin, make it a gooey mess, and I'll just drape it over top. Sometimes I'll go a little rectangular piece and go across, and sorry, it keeps going out of focus because of my hand like that, going up and across like that to give it some strength. The fiberglass is all, then the resin's all about the strength. The resin bonds to wood very, very well. It never peels off of it. So that's basically it. So I'll give it a quick scuff with a steel brush or a sandpaper, whatever, to make sure, because I use waxed resin. A side note for anyone that's listening to this and they're questioning if their stuff is waxed or not. If it doesn't say unwaxed, it probably is waxed. Usually you feel the gooiness on the fiberglass when it's almost completely hardened. You can feel it on the surface because it pushes the wax out of the fiberglass to the surface. But like I said, probably I'm going to say this isn't a scientific number, but probably 90% of polyester resins are waxed base. So if in doubt, consider it to be waxed and scuff it before you put it on a layer. So it doesn't hurt to do that anyways. And that's basically how I do my legs or so. If anything's out of level, I don't worry about the levels. Like, I try and get them close, obviously, but like if my legs, that's making it look really bad, but if my legs are a little bit out of level, I do this. I have this little box of wood pieces, and in this wood pieces are all kinds of little wedges like this, and I keep this box handy when I pour something. Let me see if I grab one here. If I pour something, and like this one here, this is really on the level, I'll end up gluing on something because that's a ½ inch off. I'll glue something on there, but realistically, if you level the whole thing, it doesn't seem to make sense to worry about the leveling, because when you move it on your workbench from one spot to the next, your workbench may not be level. So your cement's not going to be level. So why worry about the legs? You know, you want them to be reasonable, but they don't need to be perfectly level. And then I just take those little wedges, and I shove a wedge wherever my leg's sitting up in the air. And I can see where the cement is flowing in the thing. If it's flowing a little bit more to one side, I'll put a wedge or two on the other side. And then I'll just give it a little wiggle, and it levels itself again. And when it's level, I'm good. And it takes all of about 3 seconds to do that. So it just saves a lot of hassle on the leveling front of the feet. And because, like, realistically, if I take something on this bench and I move it to this bench, and my benches are very, very, accurately built, but things settle over time, and your level, you know, things sag a little bit. Just my layers of, I don't know if this shows, but my layers of resin that have spilt on my bench top are changing the heights of my bench top, so my molds will never sit level. So that's my quick little thing on legs and leveling. Bye for now.